men were brutally killed in that attack after segregating them on the basis of religion. Non-Muslims were targeted. A lot has transpired since the proverbial water under the bridge, but this time it's not business as usual. Firstly, Pakistan's waters via the Indus Water Treaty have been put on notice. Military action has decimated 9 terror camps, and post-Pakistan's drone misadventure, 11 Pakistani air bases have been bombarded. Today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi reaffirmed India's stance that each and every terror attack will be answered militarily. There will be no distinction between the terror groups and the Pakistani state. By every measure, it is clear that this is a resolve that has India's mandate behind it. No other terror attack has brought the entire country together quite like this time. The Prime Minister has both political and social capital to hit Pakistan. But then why are some only indulging in diluting that message for domestic politics? What is more important, standing together and tall against enemies, or bickering internally on even some half-baked controversies like calling the External Affairs Minister of India a traitor? Hammering the Indian government on the ceasefire and US role despite umpteenth clarifications? Why are some miring the country with doubt at this crucial juncture of national unity? We will explore that with our guests in just a bit. But first up, minutes after Prime Minister's speech in Bikaner today, Congress MP Jairam Ramesh was quick to attack. He said that Prime Minister must stop with the hollow dialogues and answer on the following questions. The first of that question is what the Congress party, or at least some in the Congress party, have asked a few times. Where are the killers of Pahalgam? Why are they still free? Of course, military action is ongoing and several encounters have taken place. The faith should be with the military in this case. Or is the Congress party questioning whether the military is capable of handling those terrorists? Secondly, the Congress MP is concerned as to why the Prime Minister has not chaired an all-party meeting or taken the opposition parties into confidence. The government, of course, will maintain that they have taken the opposition into confidence multiple times with these meetings. Thirdly, the Congress MP questioned why the Prime Minister has not called a special session of Parliament. But even its own allies are not really supporting this demand by the Congress party. Lastly, the Congress MP seeks clarification on claims made by US President about brokering that ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Here's the thing, the government has clarified on it time and time again, and there are some party members who don't see any merit in raking this over and over. They're distancing themselves from the line that some in the Congress party are taking. In fact, External Affairs Minister, who's in the Netherlands, clarified about the ceasefire today. In an interview to a media channel, the External Affairs Minister said that India and Pakistan have this provision to talk to each other via a hotline. And on 10th of May, the Pakistani army sent a message to India. The United States was not involved in any way in this communication. Yes, many countries, including the US, were in touch with India and Pakistan, as is to be expected in these heated times. But India's stand was clear, even to the US. If Pakistan wanted to stop the firing, they will have to initiate the talks with India. The ceasefire, he reiterated, was therefore brokered between India and Pakistan alone. Meanwhile, there is some global support from key allies emerging, even as the principal opposition party in India continues to make discordant notes. Remember, there are MP delegations going across the world. The one that was going to UAE met the chairman of the Defence Committee and the Minister of Tolerance in the country. And this is what leader of the pack, Shrikant Shinde, told the media. He said the UAE is standing shoulder to shoulder with India. The clear-cut message given by the UAE was that they stand against terrorism with India in this fight. He added that the message from the UAE counterparts was that we are with you and that terrorism cannot proliferate in the name of religion. This is important, given the voice that the UAE is. UAE, remember, has been one of the first to condemn the attack that happened and has stood by India in its military action as well. So why do some in India continue to doubt not just the resolve of the government, but also whether India is sending the right message across or not? That debate is coming up.
22 तारीख के हमले के जवाब में हमने 22 मिनट में आतंकियों के 9 सबसे बड़े ठिकाने तबाह कर दिए। दुनिया ने और देश के दुश्मनों ने भी देख लिया कि जब सिंदूर बारूद बन जाता है तो नतीजा क्या होता है। भारत पर आतंकी हमला हुआ तो करारा जवाब मिलेगा। समय हमारी सेनाएं तय करेगी। एटम बम की गीदड़ भपकियों से भारत डरने वाला नहीं है। साथियों, पाकिस्तान भारत से कभी सीधी लड़ाई जीत ही नहीं सकता। इसलिए पाकिस्तान ने आतंकवाद को भारत के खिलाफ लड़ाई का हथियार बनाया है। ट्रेड होगा न टॉक। अगर बात होगी तो सिर्फ पाकिस्तान के कब्जे वाले कश्मीर की, पीओके की। पाकिस्तान को भारत के हक का पानी नहीं मिलेगा। भारतीयों के खून से खेलना पाकिस्तान को महंगा पड़ेगा।
Those were the excerpts of the Prime Minister's speech earlier today, and we will get you some more where there is a more political message than just a military message that he sent as far as that excerpt is concerned. Let me also go across to our guest joining us. Major Manik Jolly is a strategic affairs expert. Sanjay Panda, former diplomat. Professor Brahmachaleni is joining us. Rajat Sethi, author and political commentator. Sanjeev Srivastav, senior journalist, also with us. Sanjeev, I want to begin with you because I don't want to politicize this too much, but there is this politics going on in India as far as this entire issue is concerned, or the messaging from India or the Prime Minister is concerned. Right after his speech, Jairam Ramesh, does that tweet, poses those questions. What do you think the Congress party is trying to do? And in what it is trying to do, is it coming across as not standing together in the resolve that the Prime Minister is talking about?
Well, good evening, Shivani, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I personally think the Congress has the right to ask questions like why was there intelligence failure, what's happening to the terrorists who actually attacked tourists on Pahalgam. But it should be done in a manner which should not be seen as being combative with the government. These are genuine questions which what Congress, even I or you or anybody else can ask. But unfortunately what the Congress is doing, after their initial full committed support to the government on Operation Sindoor during those 5-10 days post-conflict as well, last few days they have changed the optics and their stance is, I think, not in sync with the public mood right now. So I don't know why a political party, just for the sake of being seen as an effective or credible opposition, raises these questions. Some of the questions I would like to repeat are legitimate, but there is a time to ask them. There is a time to raise what Foreign Minister Jaishankar said. There is a time to ask about Trump's intervention, who is in any case a kind of a maverick that nobody really needs to pay much of an attention to him. But Congress, just when it looks like it is acting in the right way, does something where they tend to stand against popular mood. And this government and BJP is just so smart and so effective in their campaign and PR and messaging that very soon what the Congress is doing is asking questions to the opposition. Very soon we'll find the BJP has put them again in that anti-national against India box. Because asking questions to the government in this instance can so easily be taken or I won't say twisted, because in a manner of speaking it would be right. The Congress should behave like a national opposition party, and bottom line is at this time it should be seen as standing in solidarity and full support with the government.
No, I mostly agree with what you're saying, but there is one problem with it, which is that when you start taking a line that even your external affairs minister is somehow a traitor, you're accusing him of treason, of having informed Pakistan, beforehand as far as those strikes are concerned. Sure, as erudite as Jaishankar is, maybe that particular statement of his, Rajat Sethi, left something to interpretation. But anybody in couple of minutes, if not couple of seconds, can figure out what Jaishankar is saying. But for a political party to go on and on and on for 2 days that no, you informed Pakistan beforehand, we want an answer to this, then you expose yourself to ridicule. Then you expose yourself to questions exactly like the ones that you will face, that you are deliberately giving Indian enemies a hook.
Absolutely, Shivani. I mean, I tweeted that it seems like one BrahMos has accidentally hit their collective intelligence of the Congress party. What else can explain this absolutely imbecile behavior that is coming in from the top rungs? These are not like Chhutbaiya netas. These are the absolute top, led by the LOP. What kind of message are you presenting? What kind of a signal you are giving to the people? Are you privy to certain extra bit of intelligence information where you can ascertain that the External Affairs Minister made a phone call to the Pakistan telling him that these are the areas where we are going to hit? I mean, basic comprehension. All that you need is basic 5th grade English comprehension. Now, clearly, they did it deliberately. It's not like they didn't understand. See, the real reason why they did it was they feel that, they believe that all the previous attacks yielded huge electoral benefits for the BJP. And if left unchecked, this is going to give a sweeping mandate for Prime Minister Modi over the next couple of years. Now, if you come with these shallow political calculations on matter of internal security, then God save this country. And this is where they are falling into this narrative trap of the Pakistanis, narrative trap of the Chinese, and also the left liberal media ecosystem that exists in the US.
They're falling into somebody's trap? No, once again. They're falling into somebody's trap? Are they that innocent or naive?
See, they believe that they are over smart. They always think, Jairam Ramesh, you look at his face, you will see that he has this air as if he's the smartest commentator out there and a politician out there. The problem is with this arrogant few who have never won any election and occupy top offices within the Congress party. They have fallen into this narrative battle and they keep offering more and more and more fodder for these narrative mills around the world to keep running. If Indians only don't, go with the armies and the defense forces narrative, then what is left then? And this is
I also feel that there is this distinction, Major Manik Jolly, the distinction sometimes that politicians make is, we don't question the army. We're only questioning the government. It's our right to question the government. Sure, that sounds wonderful. But when you say, where are those terrorists who perpetrated the crime in Pahalgam, exactly who are you questioning? When you question how much damage were you able to do to Pakistan, exactly who are you questioning? Because these don't seem to be questions to the government. They seem like questions on the authority and the capability of the army.
Hi, Shivani. Thanks. So I'll tell you how I see is that the people asking these questions from the Congress or other leaders have started to see army as extension of Mr. Modi rather than national force. They see country getting stronger. They had problem with Rafale. They had problem with S-400s. They had problem with our, many defense system that we were wanting to procure because they saw armed forces getting stronger. And in extension, they saw it this way, that this is Modi getting stronger.
No, but that's very damning. No, what you're saying is extremely damning on a political party of India.
It is exactly, and it is very disappointed for the armed forces also because armed forces, irrespective of who is in the center, who is the prime minister, which government is ruling, they have fought their war, they have fought their terrorism, they have fought and performed in every disturbed area wherever there was insurgency or terrorism, laid down our lives in thousands. And still, when you see that what you are doing is actually commenting on our performance and our dedication and targeting Modi, it is not fair actually. And they talk about catching these 4 guys. Yasin Malik killed 4 Air Force personnel in 1990. He was jailed just a few years ago. Why wasn't he caught for 2-3 decades? He was their friend and partner and political ally and everything. See, catching terrorists is, sometimes it happens, sometimes it takes time. To question the government on a very tactical level achievement when we have achieved so much, put Pakistan in place in just 1 week, is actually directly, as you said, questioning the capabilities of your armed forces. These terrorists will be caught. They will be killed. Because the Pahalgam operation itself, what they carried out, showed how much support they had to come undetected, kill them and just vanish. What it means that they also had some very fine-tuned exit plan. It means they could be outside India right now. They could be any city. They could be anywhere. So catching them and assuming that they are sitting in that 5 square kilometer jungle is just very immature. And keep questioning government on where are they? I mean, give it some time. It will happen. These people don't go away. So I would only request, actually, as a soldier from fraternity, that when you question government, why are these, just look at what we have achieved in 7 days. We have brought down a nuclear power that has been threatening you for ages to its knees, that within 7 days they were asking for ceasefire. Glorify that achievement, enjoy that success, rather than keep poking the government or the armed forces and trying to, get your political win.
Even if you don't want to gloat on it, at least don't try to puncture your country's narrative. It's okay if you stay quiet for a few days. No heavens will fall. But Brahmachalini, I want to come to you because Malik Jolly kind of makes an important, juxtaposition. From the days when the likes of Yasin Malik even met the Indian Prime Minister and shook hands with him and was felicitated, to today, do you believe there is merit in how far India has come, as Narendra Modi puts it, as a Naya Bharat when it comes to its doctrine on terror? Do you believe there is credit to be given over the last 10, 11 years to him?
Shivani, I like to stay away from partisan politics. I can only speak about the broader issues. The thing is that India has faced Pakistani cross-border terrorism under successive governments. And government after government has been unable to deter Pakistani sponsorship of terrorism. And I'm talking about the last 3 governments. Vajpayee, we had such big attacks when Vajpayee was Prime Minister, attack on Parliament in New Delhi, attack on Red Fort, Manmohan Singh, the Mumbai horrific massacre cannot be forgotten. It's etched in memory. And that was only one of many attacks that happened when Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister. And under Modi, we have seen a series of major attacks. Pathankot, after he went to Lahore unannounced, he landed in Lahore unannounced, and the Pak military then responded by carrying out a series of attacks, starting with Pathankot. And then we've had other attacks. So the real issue is, how can India contain this menace from across the border? That's the issue. And today, it's very important because we have sent members of parliament on overseas trips to push the Indian narrative. And yet, at the same time, I'm saddened by the fact that we are sending confusing signals at home. For example, we just resumed beating retreat ceremonies at Atari and 2 other border crossings. These beating retreat ceremonies are not just decadent British-era practices. They reinforce the hyphenation of India and Pakistan. Why resume them just 10 days after the military operation was ceased? And then, even as we are telling the nation that Operation Sindoor has merely been paused, not ended, there's one other development that is taking place, which is that India and Pakistan are now in the process of pulling back their troop reinforcements from border areas and forward areas. All additional forces that were deployed by either side in border or forward areas are to move back to peacetime positions by May 31st. That is within the next 9 days. So we are not sending clear and consistent messages. We are sending signals that tend to undercut our own narrative.
Our own narrative and possibly our own victory against Pakistan, because yes, that question still hangs in the balance as to whether the ceasefire was needed at the time when we were pounding Pakistan. So yes, I will park that. But Sanjay Panda, I'm coming to you. Do you also feel the narrative is somehow confused domestically, externally? What do you make of the resolve that the Prime Minister keeps talking about? And how do you appreciate that there's a difference between how India used to conduct when it came to terror emanating from Pakistan, or is this just an extension of what we've seen in the past?
Well, Shivani, I mean, before I say that, I wanted to just go and say something that Operation Sindoor, after Operation Sindoor sending conflicting signals to the world is not quite correct. So I think we should be speaking in the same voice. If there are any doubts internally raised, it doesn't send the right signals to the world.
Yes.
That's very clear. But yes, now there is something which was very clearly stated is the new normal. So the new normal and what it is that the Prime Minister has very clearly enunciated. And today at Barmer, his statement, that's a strong message. Actually, this messaging may not be only for the domestic audience because the world is listening.
Yes.
And it is very important that the world listens. And at the same time, Dr. Jaishankar and our team, which is different teams which are the the diplomatic efforts which are underway.
Yes.
That is absolutely essential in sending the message across loud and clear. Especially, I was very impressed with what the External Affairs Minister said to the Dutch media outlet today.
Yes, I'm going to come to that. I'm going to come to that. But on the, do you believe that it is fair to say that India has shifted its doctrine? Or do you believe that we are still kind of confused as to how far we need to go with Pakistan?
No, there is no confusion now. There might have been some confusion a few days ago. But 30 days after the Pahalgam incident, I feel that now we are seeing the correct line and the correct approach how we should do it. And it is 1.4 billion people have to be together on this. So let's not politicize it. And mark my word, now this, when I say there is no shift in policy, I mean that our policy has remained the same, but it is adapting now to the changing times, and that is how it evolves. I mean, it cannot be stagnant. So, so far as Pakistan is concerned, now we are very clear where we stand and what we want.
Okay.
Negotiations now will only be on POK and only be on terrorism emanating from Pakistani soil. So Prime Minister made it very clear, no trade, no talks, no water. So be it. So the very clarity is there now.
Yeah, no, and that is a distinction from the past. Yes, there could be more that could be done, but I also want to play out some more excerpts from the Prime Minister's speech today. This was also the Prime Minister in a very Modi-esque style talking about how he is not going to allow certain things or how he is going to do certain things. Let's just listen in to his political messaging, if I can put it like that.
जो सिंदूर मिटाने निकले थे उन्हें मिट्टी में मिलाया है। जो हिंदुस्तान का लहू बहाते थे, जो हिंदुस्तान का लहू बहाते थे, आज कतरे कतरे का हिसाब चुकाया है। जो अपने हथियारों पर घमंड करते थे, जो अपने हथियारों पर घमंड करते थे, आज वो मलबे के ढेर में दबे हुए हैं। ये भारत का नया स्वरूप है। पहले घर में घुसकर किया था वार, पहले घर में घुसकर किया था वार, अब सीधा सीने पर किया प्रहार है। आतंक का फन कुचलने की, आतंक का फन कुचलने की यही नीति है, यही रीति है, यही भारत है, नया भारत है। पाकिस्तान एक बात भूल गया, अब मां भारती का सेवक मोदी यहां सीना तान कर खड़ा है। मोदी का दिमाग ठंडा है, ठंडा रहता है, लेकिन मोदी का लहू गर्म होता है। और अब तो मोदी की नसों में लहू नहीं, गरम सिंदूर बह रहा है।
Well, those are the kind of statements that the Prime Minister made today. And yes, they were dramatic to say the least. Sanjeev, I'm coming to you first up. Is this what makes the Congress nervous? If we were talking about this, that, you know, he makes this about the fact that he's standing there in protection of Ma Bharti. He doesn't shy away from saying this. He's said that before. Do you think is it unfair to say that, yes, he is that strong military prime minister who doesn't shy away from saying it, and that is his strength? The Congress maybe gets a little nervous because of this, because they don't feel they can articulate the same.
So I think, Shivani, we are, at least I am and other panelists also, we are done with the criticism of Congress and how they have got their act wrong post Operation Sindoor, both on criticizing and taking on the government as well as their churlish behavior on, I think, this foreign delegations and the selection of leaders from the Congress party, especially on Shashi Tharoor, etc. So all that you just take it as they say in parliamentary speeches, taken as read. But today's statements of Prime Minister in Bikaner were, what to say, I think they were a mix of Ramdhari Singh Dinkar and Salim Javed. Really rabble-rousing, very poetic, lahu mein, naso mein lahu nahi, sindoor beh raha hai. It was very, like you yourself said, dramatic to say the least. But let us shift the move the topic and the goalposts of this debate a little further, if you may. My issue is that, and I would really like Brahmachalani to react to this as well, that the first time Prime Minister said no trade, no talk with terror, nothing but POK and terrorism will be on the table, there will be no engagement, and next time it will be something. Obviously, it's a clear hint that next time it will be bigger than Operation Sindoor. So, every time India will suffer a terror attack, there will be a reaction of the kind of Operation Sindoor. Now, my issue is that when he said that on the 12th, I think, evening, in his televised address, I was very comfortable with it. That's the new doctrine. Today also, I am not very uncomfortable with it. But what I want to really highlight is that if you keep on repeating this, then we also tie ourselves in a very set kind of a reaction. So not every time a terror attack happens, we should be now raising public bar, opinion, perception of the world that either India will retaliate in a big way or else have we lost our nerve. I think for every time something happens, the government of the day, the armed forces, the policy makers, they should allow themselves that space to breathe, that discretion, that they can take a call. What I just mean to say is that don't dig yourself into one particular corner just to keep sounding very brave.
Okay.
And,
so, you know, politicians have to go across the country and they have to hammer their messages. That is what politicians have to do. You know, you have to look at it from that point of view as well.
But I am worried because
you're saying that India could back itself into a corner where if it does not do exactly what the Prime Minister is saying every time, then it could be seen as weakness on our part. Let me take that. Let me take that to Rajat Sethi.
We have announced a doctrine.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fair question to ask. Let me ask that to Rajat Sethi. You know, have we backed ourselves into a corner by suggesting this, that every time there is a terror attack, we're going to do an Operation Sindoor? Is this doable? Is this what we even want?
Well, I think, see, it's a very interesting and a complex question and no easy answer.
Yeah.
Will we be tying ourselves in a knot vis-a-vis the future attacks? Yes, to some extent. but the nature of response and the gravity of response and everything that will the kind of optionalities that India will be presenting before Pakistan has to be multi-spectrum, multimodal. You cannot have just a very simplistic response the way the progression line has been so far. You need to create more levels of deterrence, and I don't know how our military experts and our defense experts and our strategic experts are looking at added degrees of strategic deterrence which you can enforce upon Pakistan. It's going to be complex, future path for India. India is currently going to will have to struggle on multimodal, multi-front challenges. Pakistan is one challenge. There is China. There is now Bangladesh. You still see there are issues in Sri Lanka and Maldives. And we have, since we have blocked TikTok, there is conversations around South Asian fraternity where Nepali young boys and girls are interacting more with Bangladeshi ones and with the Pakistani ones. While we might just shut our eyes, it doesn't reduce the degrees of complexities that we are going to find ourselves in a near future.
Yes.
And I believe this is why we need to do a lot of thinking. Lot of think tanks will have to put in those efforts. Some of the finest minds are there. Brahma sir is there, and all of these. Everybody is there, and you will all have to contribute to this multi-dimensional chess game that is going to unfold before us.
Okay. Let me take that to I'll go to Brahmachaleni in just a bit, but let me take that to the army guy on our panel as well. Is an Operation Sindoor the default response that is possible every time, Major Malik?
Yeah. So the thing is, if we understand the team that we have right now, the PM, the HM, the Foreign Minister and all, and especially the NSA, they wouldn't have this given statement arbitrarily. It's not just they would have set this thing in motion without knowing our options. And military is, we have shown one facet of how this can be done. Like the military missile, this is a missile and EW and drone warfare. There are many other functions in which Army, Navy, Air Force can hit Pakistan. And the thing is, this statement wouldn't have been given because without keeping everything in consideration. I think as a country, we are yet to realize what we have achieved because the communication on that side has been very slow. People are treating like Shaheen missile as some choti chidiya which came and somebody shot it down. We are not getting the pedestal that our air defense, air force and missile system has taken us to in globally. If you have that kind of dominance in air and air force, air defense, air force, I think to make that, I would say, threat that you do it next time, we'll treat it as an act of war is very reasonable actually. We have the capability, and doing this is not the only way to do that. There are multiple ways Army, Navy, Air Force can hit Pakistan, and they would find it very difficult to go against our action.
Brahmachaleni, you want to weigh in on this? I also want to ask you an added question, not just about the fact that this resolve is what has been espoused by the government, but also I want to ask you too about the international response or education from this. How do you think the world is looking at this resolve that the Prime Minister is reiterating? Sanjeev is right. He is saying this a few times. Could it make us fall back into a corner, or is this messaging for the entire global world to reiterate this is where India stands? There should be no confusion on that.
Well, you ask a very fundamental question. Public diplomacy works best if a country responds in a timely manner. It should respond to disinformation right away. It should make its point quickly, because the international narrative is shaped by the international media to a large extent. And the international media will not wait for India's bureaucratic culture to churn out statements. So if we are slow, obviously we will lose the narrative. We will cede the narrative by default. Therefore, it's very important to understand that time is of the essence in public diplomacy. The Pakistanis have always been traditionally very good at PR. And yet, we do not learn from how we can, from our gaps in the past, how can we do better this time? For example, the Pakistanis on first day churned out this talking point to all their officials. that they had shot down 5 of Indian aircraft. We allowed that to go unrebutted right through the military operation. So what happened was that the headlines were all about.
But don't you feel we
Pakistani
corrected
claims.
that later? That this outreach that we're doing, plus our military now has done a lot of press briefings. This is a departure from the past. They are taking on
Yes.
questions. They are in fact putting out information. Even the Poonch Brigade came out and did a press conference. We've not seen that in the past. Even individual brigades are coming out and talking to the media and saying, we did this, we did this, we did this. Media is being taken to our bases.
This is an improvement on the past record of India. But look at the time lag. Trump, when he said that he used the threat of trade sanctions to force India's hand, the MEA took more than 48 hours to say that Indian and American leaders were in discussion right through the course of India's operation, but the issue of trade did not come up. That was after more than 2 days.
Okay.
You have to revert in a timely manner.
All right.
This is the point that I'm trying to make.
Lessons
But on
still
the-
to be learned as far as the whole narrative or the information war is concerned. Before I shift to that war, and I want to focus on what External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said, for example, to a couple of media houses in the Netherlands, I want to give Mr. Panda an opportunity to respond to that question that I'm trying to get to. How do you think the world is seeing this message, this change of tone from India? We believe it's a change. We believe that this is going to be the new normal, the new doctrine. How do you think the world is looking at it and will respond to this?
You see, once the messaging is done, it's very loud and clear. Repeating the messages again and again, then it becomes a little problematic. So I think we have to handle it a little in a sophisticated manner and go a little slow now. But there are queries and there are questions. What Mr. Brahmachalani said, I entirely agree with him. We cannot have this time lag. We have to come, respond immediately, respond firmly, reiterate our resolve, reiterate our point, and then we let things down. I'm not worried that next time such a thing happens, we won't be able to retaliate. But that is not the issue. I entirely agree. There are many other means of handling it, but we don't have to really, repeat again and again once we have made the point. But maybe, yes, politicians have to do it for the domestic audience, that I concede. But I'm just telling you for the international community and the media. And as you mentioned about if we don't say anything and the international media would carry our detractors' narrative, I entirely agree.
No, I don't think it was only about the lag. I only disagree on the point that it is not so much about the fact that only one side was giving information and therefore they carried it. I think there is a deep-rooted bias too in taking Pakistan's word for it, while India is, India has to explain to them the situation. Otherwise, any independent media has no business publishing unverified claims of any one side.
Shivani, I just wanted to add here something. Western media, be it New York Times, Washington Post, anywhere, there is something more to it than on every issue, India specific issue, there is a problem. And the problem is the problem is there in the West. You say not everyone is very comfortable about India's rise.
Yeah.
So
No,
I'm not
absolutely.
going to talk more about it now. There's not the time. But you don't want to see another. We are a long way off China, but don't want to see another China and strong economy happening and then dictating terms to the world. So there are many people who are not comfortable about it.
No, absolutely.
And
There's an underlying element of trying to cut India's rise or its global position or stature. I'm not suggesting it by any means that we've reached there and we've made it. We've got a lot of ground to cover, but there is clearly an element of that is going around in this world. But I want to shift our focus now to what the External Affairs Minister has said, because India isn't just trying to lead the fight against terror. It's also the fight against Western bias, from reportage by the Western media to equating India and Pakistan. Problems have been many. In a no-holds-barred interview in the Netherlands, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar once again schooled the West on its expectations from India to act and behave in a manner they understand when our realities and histories are different. He also categorically denied any talks with Pakistan unless it is on the issue of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and its liberation. So is this once again a wake-up call for the West to stop trying to pigeonhole India or box India into this versus this narrative and blocks that they so nicely and neatly want to stack up? That's with our guests coming up. But first, listen in to Jaishankar.
I've had, difficult neighbors, Pakistan and China especially. I've had a continuing problem of terrorism from Pakistan. So I've always had to deal with a degree of realism with a very harsh world, very nasty world, which I think Europeans were insulated from. So I'm not accusing you of naivety. I'm just saying that your situation was different from mine, but you are today going through a reality check in your own way.
That was an excerpt to a TV interview. I'm also going to just read out an excerpt from a print interview where the External Affairs Minister was asked the question about Russia. Why has India not imposed sanctions on Russia? The External Affairs Minister said sanction culture is a very Western way of maintaining international relations. We do not do national sanctions. And he also said, I conduct a foreign policy that suits our national character and national interests. I can also say, why doesn't Europe behave more like us? That would be a good idea. Let's open this up to our guests with us. And Mr. Panda, you're the diplomat on the panel, so I'll give this crack first to you. I found it absolutely brilliant. I don't think there's any partisanship on my part, but it was absolutely brilliant to tell the West, why do you keep expecting for us to behave like you? We are not you. We are not Europe. Our realities and history is different.
See, this is brilliant and this is very crisp and clear.
Yes.
Without mincing any words. It was actually, I thought it was a very cold-blooded interview by Dr. J. I mean, his statements today, telling the West that you do not tell us how we are going to conduct our affairs is absolutely, this was long overdue. He had done it before, but now is the time to send this message across very clearly. And the other thing is when I said that there was a question where saying, are you suggesting that there are terror camps in Pakistan?
Yes. He said, no, I'm stating it.
He retorted, he said, I'm not suggesting, I'm stating it. So, there is a different orientation now in how we are conveying the message to the world. The message has to be there, but the messaging has to be clear but subtle. But it will register. It will register. So I think it was absolutely outstanding, and whether the message actually registers, we'll have to see in the coming days.
No,
but if
again,
you're thinking that the Western approach will change, it will not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there are two distinct things. One is what is the message we're giving. One is the impact it's going to have. The impact is determined by a lot of factors, plus their own national interests. And I have no problem against US doing its own thing, against Europe doing its own thing. The problem only arises when you expect India to be part of your kitty and not really act independently. Brahmachaleni, on this front, do you think India has done a reasonably good job?
Yes, India has done a reasonable job. And I go back to what you said earlier, Shivani, which is that there is an inherent bias in Western media coverage of developing countries, especially India. And we saw that during the COVID phase, when India went through this Delta epidemic. There was just a short epidemic in India. In 6 weeks, there was a sudden escalation of COVID cases, many deaths, and the Western media trafficked in images of death, suffering, and private acts of mourning. They beamed images, haunting images of bodies burning on pyres in India. And the funeral fire is a classic trope in Western novels, travelogues, and paintings about India. And by directing their cameras to the burning pyres, Western media outlets were satisfying their audience's morbid fascination with the Hindu tradition of cremating the dead, even though this is an environmentally friendly practice which is increasingly catching on in the West. So we saw during the COVID time how Western bias, especially Western media bias, is on open display. And given that bias, it becomes even more incumbent on India to be proactive in pushing its viewpoint, in ensuring there are no distortions, and certainly ensuring that disinformation is quickly rebutted. Because Operation Sindoor should have been framed by India as a justified act of self-defense. It was an aggression, it was an act of self-defense after enduring decades of Pakistani cross-border terrorism.
But that's exactly what the government did.
Sorry?
That's exactly what the government did.
The government did, except that the government focused too narrowly on the domestic narrative, not on shaping the international narrative.
Okay. Rajat, you want to come in on this? On, the West's fascination to find, to be always, if I may say, at least certainly in the last 10 years, be disappointed with India. Because as many have been saying, they can't figure out India. They don't understand India. It's modern and ancient at the same time. It's progressive and has its own traditions at the same time. It's also a country that wants to do business with the entire world, but doesn't want to be anybody's lackey. Your mic, Rajat, your mic.
So, Shivani, essentially the order of complexity of India is just too much cumbersome for the Western media to sort of unpack and comprehend and make sense of it. We do have the second largest population of Muslims in our country, and yet we are, cornered into a Hindu nationalist country as a whole. They mix our polity with certain polities of the other countries just to find easier examples to deal with. They just don't understand India. But having said that, and I believe Jaishankar ji is one of the best communicator that we have ever had as an external affairs minister, but the gap is still there. We understand that the West is utterly biased, absolutely ill-informed. That gap still needs to be bridged by one way or the other.
How?
So first thing is that you cannot only have communication during the time of crisis. Our communication has to be less bureaucratic. Our foreign embassies and the consulates have to be much more proactive in round-the-clock dealing and engaging with all of these boardrooms. I can give you two instances. Harvard, my alma mater, they were organizing a conference called the Harvard-Pakistan Conference, and the narrative was totally botched up. But there were a few students who we immediately emailed the president, and we did whatever we could. Immediately after that, we saw Columbia organizing a very pro-Pakistan conference. I mean, we then gathered Columbia University students and then rallied them and ensured that there is more parity in the narrative that is being said there. But our embassies our consulate generals have to do something at the end of the day. And if you only leave this gap, and this critical gap started 22nd of April till 7th of May, that gap, we allowed the issue of terrorism to be metamorphosized into an issue of Kashmir. Okay. And we did not say anything. Today, the issue is not about terrorism. It has, in the Western ideas, it has become an issue about Kashmir and the long pendency around the complexity of Kashmir.
Yeah, and I think the greatest... You're right. You're right. But the greatest damage in that regard, I think, has happened because of Donald Trump's comments.
No, that is later. That's again, I'm saying, you could have still corrected his and his team's way of understanding of the issue too, had you spoken between 22nd of April and the 7th of May. That period, I believe, a lot of our embassies should have been on a overdrive to ensure that every single editorial board has a copy of what all has happened historically, giving evidences of the historical events and ensuring that we do not require evidences anymore. Okay. For a fairly long time, India's right to respond, and I think in many cases, even till today, has never been accepted by the West. Why? There have been ample number of incidences where we have proven Pakistan's role. Why do we have to every time prove it? That case wasn't made out. And that's where my problem is in terms of engaging with the West knowing very well they don't understand anything about India.
All right, all right. I have only, I think, a minute left. So I'll give 30 seconds to the remaining two guests. Sanjeev, you go first. Your comments on how India is telling the West the message that please don't box us in and we are not like you. We're going to do what works for us.
But our message hasn't worked so far. That's the big message. That we have again been hyphenated with Pakistan. There is talk of two nuclear powers at each other's throats. The spectre of Kashmir, tensions in South Asia, that's a larger message. And like you said before the break, that how Jaishankar schooled the Dutch media. Another fellow panelist very rightly said in cold blood he gave it back ruthlessly. And I am a great admirer and I enjoy as an Indian to listen to Mr. Jaishankar. But what is the result?
Okay.
There is no impact. So like you also said, one is how are you making your communication and what is the impact? So the impact so far is not to be seen. I won't say it is 0 or 10 or 20.
But it
it's
could
not
be
to
more.
be seen.
It could
you
be
had
more.
China, etc. No, I think it should be much more. There is no impact. Which of the major world powers stood for us during Operation Sindoor before that?
Okay.
Before that they were with us. But post-Operation Sindoor, it became hyphenated, India, Pakistan, Kashmir. So I think it's great optics, great dialogues, great to give it back in their language.
I have
They
limited
understand,
time.
simple, crisp, sharp, cold-blooded. But where's
No
the
impact. No impact. Okay.
We need to win friends,
Major Jolly, 20
not
seconds.
impress.
20 seconds, unfortunately, only.
Yeah, that's all right. So, Shivani, I've been a communication guy in military and always. I don't see it as a communication. I see it as a military tool. We are in this information warfare space. When Op Sindoor was launched, I would have felt so great if everybody, all the embassies across the world would have propagated our fight against terror, our response to Pakistan immediately that night, and we would have, dominated this kind of narrative war that is happening. We were too late, and we can't actually keep depending on Mr. Jaishankar as, cricket team of 90s like Tendulkar. If only he scores century, team will win. Otherwise, there's nothing happening. So we need to develop our communication channels much strongly with Western media through our embassies and all. I think that's the need of the hour.
Okay. All right. I've run out of time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us, but I do want to leave our viewers with this visual from Cannes. The film festival is on and none other than Aishwarya Rai Bachchan made a grand entrance, also catching everybody's eye with the sindoor on her forehead. Thanks a lot for watching.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
All right, getting and breaking inputs from Tirumala. In fact, there was commotion over a namaz that was being offered in Tirumala as a Muslim man offered namaz near the Tirumala Kalyana Mandapam wearing a Hazrat cap. Vigilance officials are currently engaged in identifying who the person is and why did he offer the namaz there. A search is also underway for the person based on the car number and the CCTV footage that they have been able to access. Those visuals, in fact, coming in of that man offering namaz in Tirumala over there. PV Ramana brings us more inputs. Ramana, take us through what exactly ensued and have they been able to ascertain the identity of this man?
Still, the Vigilance Enforcement Department team, Vigilance Police is searching for that particular person who did the namaz in the premises of Tirumala temple. In fact, it is completely prohibited in Tirumala Hills because if the person who wanted to enter into the Tirumala Hills, there is a strict prohibition of other religion, even literature, dress, whatever the thing will be there, that will be removed outside of the at the entrance of the Tirumala hills itself. There will be thorough check will be conducted, and accordingly all this will be removed. But the person entered into the Tirumala hills and he did the namaz wearing that Hazrat cap and all. It is creating sensation in Tirumala. The police is searching for him. That video was shot by some other, and it is going on viral in the social media. Meanwhile, that person has given a complaint to the business department with this particular video, and police is now they are doing the searching for that particular person based on his car number and all. And even as of now, there is no update on that. Still, they are searching for him because it's a very holy place, and there is the Tirumala is very holy place for Hindus. There is completely prohibition of other religion, whatever the things, whether it is literature, whether it is dress, whether it is cap, whatever it will be there, that will be removed. Even that vehicle enters into the Tirumala hills also, if there is any stickers kind of a thing, that will be removed at the entrance itself. So one person entered into the temple and he is doing wearing the Hazrat and he is doing namaz, is definitely one of the biggest sensational thing that definitely police will definitely it will be taken by the police very seriously by the police, and they are searching accordingly. Have to see what exactly will happen, and is identified or not will come to know very soon.
All right. Many thanks to you, Ramana, for bringing us all those latest inputs on that news story. It's led to quite a sensation. We await more inputs coming in from the authorities. With that, we're slipping into a quick break. Stay tuned to Nation at 5.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
All right, getting and breaking inputs from Tirumala. In fact, there was commotion over a namaz that was being offered in Tirumala as a Muslim man offered namaz near the Tirumala Kalyana Mandapam wearing a Hazrat cap. Vigilance officials are currently engaged in identifying who the person is and why did he offer the namaz there. A search is also underway for the person based on the car number and the CCTV footage that they have been able to access. Those visuals, in fact, coming in of that man offering namaz in Tirumala over there. PV Ramana brings us more inputs. Ramana, take us through what exactly ensued and have they been able to ascertain the identity of this man?
Still, the Vigilance Enforcement Department team, Vigilance Police is searching for that particular person who did the namaz in the premises of Tirumala temple. In fact, it is completely prohibited in Tirumala hills because if the person who wanted to enter into the Tirumala hills, there is a strict prohibition of other religion, even literature, dress, whatever the thing will be there, that will be removed outside of the at the entrance of the Tirumala hills itself. There will be thorough check will be conducted, and accordingly all this will be removed. But the person entered into the Tirumala hills and he did the namaz wearing that Hazrat cap and all. It is creating sensation in Tirumala. The police is searching for him. That video was shot by some other, and it is going on viral in the social media. Meanwhile, that person has given a complaint to the business department with this particular video, and police is now they are doing the searching for that particular person based on his car number and all. And even as of now, there is no update on that. Still, they are searching for him because it's a very holy place, and there is the Tirumala is very holy place for Hindus. There is completely prohibition of other religion, whatever the things, whether it is literature, whether it is dress, whether it is cap, whatever it will be there, that will be removed. Even that vehicle enters into the Tirumala hills also, if there is any stickers kind of a thing, that will be removed at the entrance itself. So one person entered into the temple and he is doing wearing the Hazrat and he is doing namaz, is definitely one of the biggest sensational thing that definitely police will definitely it will be taken by the police very seriously by the police, and they are searching accordingly. Have to see what exactly will happen, and is identified or not will come to know very soon.
All right. Many thanks to you, Ramana, for bringing us all those latest inputs on that news story. It's led to quite a sensation. We await more inputs coming in from the authorities. With that, we're slipping into a quick break. Stay tuned to Nation at 5.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Getting in breaking inputs from Tirumala. In fact, there was commotion over a namaz that was being offered in Tirumala as a Muslim man offered namaz near the Tirumala Kalyana Mandapam wearing a Hazrat cap. Vigilance officials are currently engaged in identifying who the person is and why did he offer the namaz there. A search is also underway for the person based on the car number and the CCTV footage that they have been able to access. Those visuals, in fact, coming in of that man offering namaz in Tirumala over there. PV Ramana brings us more inputs. Ramana, take us through what exactly ensued and have they been able to ascertain the identity of this man?
Still, the Vigilance Enforcement Department team, Vigilance Police is searching for that particular person who did the namaz in the premises of Tirumala temple. In fact, it is completely prohibited in Tirumala Hills because if the person who wanted to enter into the Tirumala Hills, there is a strict prohibition of other religion, even literature, dress, whatever the thing will be there, that will be removed outside of the at the entrance of the Tirumala Hills itself. There will be thorough check will be conducted and accordingly all this there will be removed. But the person entered into the Tirumala Hills and it is the namaz wearing that Hazrat cap and all, it is creating sensation in Tirumala. The police is searching for him. That video was shot by some other and it is going on viral in the social media. Meanwhile, that person has given a complaint to the Vigilance Department with this particular video, and their police is now that.
Good evening. You're watching The Right Stand with me, Poonam Burde. On 22nd of April, 26 civilians were killed in cold blood by Pakistan-backed terrorists. It's exactly a month to that dastardly attack, and today, Prime Minister Modi reaffirmed India's stance that each